This has definitely been a tragedy for everybody involved. This young man was a very talented student and athlete. He was very much so loved and admired by the faculty, staff, and his colleagues, the student body there at Pinson Valley. You know, Jeff Coed, we are family. And I want to thank each and every one of our family members, whether it was principals, faculty, staff members from other schools who've reached out to us and reached out to Pinson Valley High School and have offered their prayers and condolences. But I think it extends further than that. It also extends to the educational community and just the community at large. The phone calls from our state superintendent, Dr. Eric Mackey, Dr. Yvette Richardson, our state board member, and other state board members, Athletic Association, class, and also SSA, you know, all of our educational community, AFT, AEA, our unions, reaching out and making sure that they're there to support the Pinson Valley High School family. We, for example, this morning, AEA had breakfast for all of our faculty and staff members, and AFT had lunch delivered as well so that we could support them. As I left the school yesterday and as I was on the campus today, we had ministers from the local churches that were there to offer their support in any way possible. The mayor of Pinson, Mr. Joe Cochran, he's always been a supporter of Pinson Valley High School and Jeff Coed schools, and we want to thank him and the City Council for all of their support during this tough time. But again, I just want everyone to keep the family of this young man in your hearts and your prayers, and we will be there to support that family as well. We have grief counselors that have been on campus the entire day today. I visited the school, like I said, after the hospital yesterday, and had a time to briefly meet with the faculty and staff to encourage them and give some direction in that area and support. And today on the campus, I can tell you that the mood was as to be expected. You know, our children, our faculty and staff, they're dealing with this in a way that's it's very hard for them. And so we will continue to have grief counselors on the campus next week as well. We even, last night, we offered grief counseling for those faculty and staff members who needed it. We provided a hotline number for them to speak to our care team providers to help them. At this time, do we have any questions?
Do you know what happened at this point? Do you have any indication if it was a medical, like a heart condition or anything?
We don't have any of that information at this particular time. The only incident, you know, the only things we can say is that the young man was playing basketball in the gym, and he was a basketball player as well on the team, playing a pickup game with his other teammates, and he experienced this emergency, medical emergency. We, you know, our faculty and staff, our nurse, provided life-saving measures to try to help the situation. There was an AED in the gym, and so immediately she sprang into action to try to save this young man's life. Also providing CPR until the emergency group arrived. They continued those methods, and then he was transported to the hospital where he was later pronounced deceased.
Based on your conversation yesterday, today with the administration and perhaps students on campus, what did Caleb mean to the Pinson Valley family?
Oh, Caleb provided, you know, he was just a good student, you know, and you know, I got a chance to speak to the cafeteria staff who knew him well, and one of them interacted with him right before the incident because the incident occurred right after lunch. And they talked about, how much they loved him, how much of a loving person he was, a caring person he was. He was an inspiration to his fellow students on and off the basketball court. In the basketball court, he represented us, Pinson Valley High, in an exceptional way. But not only Pinson, but the state of Alabama when he played in I think he just recently played in the North and South game, and represented the state of Alabama as well. I got a chance to speak to the family members, and it seemed to be consistent with those things that I heard from the faculty, staff, and students, that this was a young man who was very caring, very loving, and lovable.
You go ahead.
With things like this, some people always want to know what kind of physicals go into athletes like this before the season, and how intensive are they?
Well, we have the standard physicals that are taken. They go to a medical doctor and they have to be cleared. We did check the latest physical records of this young man, and he was deemed cleared, healthy cleared.
Any evidence to suggest that he might have taken a gummy or an ingestible or anything at school from a classmate or friend?
No, we don't have any of those evidence, anything alluding to that. And there was, there's no reports of any type of strange behavior. It was typical. Kid came to school that morning and interacted with his faculty, staff members, and also student bodies. I think I told you he interacted with the cafeteria person, as he would always do, well, third day of school, and then went to class and began to be a normal kid in fourth period class, and do the things that they do. And unfortunately, he experienced this medical emergency.
I noticed you're wearing a ribbon. Is that in his honor?
Yes, it is. I was at the school this morning, and it's the Pinson Valley colors, and some of the ribbons, you have a basketball that's attached to it as well, representing that he played on the basketball team. So everyone, they pinned it on me this morning as I arrived, and I saw them pinning it on many different people as well.
What is your message to the Pinson Valley family, how you will support, the district will support them moving forward in all this?
Well, we will continue to be there with the Pinson Valley family for the faculty, the staff, and our students. This is not just a one-day event of support and then we leave them. Like I said, we're going to have the grief counselors available next week for those students, but we will continue to have our thumb on the pulse of what's going on there so that we can provide. Our faculty and staff, they have the hotline number, so at night, or after school hours, if they are in need, then they will have that available to them. But we're going to be staying very, very close to them. We love each and every one of the faculty, staff, and student members at that school, and we're going to be there to support them.
You mentioned you were at the hospital. How are his parents?
I'm a father as well, and I think they were typical given the situation. No one wants to send their child to school and then get a call like that and then have to show up to the hospital and then finding out that they have lost their child. And so they were very emotional. And not just the parents, but extended family members, whether we were talking about aunts or cousins or coaches, because there were coaches there, administrators were there. And it wasn't just coaches. That's how I know this young man was very loved. It wasn't just coaches from Pinson Valley High School. It was coaches from his AAU league, from his youth league. So you knew that there were people who cared about him and had invested in him.
Sir, I'll follow up to the physical. Who mandates the physicals for these athletes, and what is required of them for this physical to be able to play sports?
Well, it's mandated by the Alabama High School Association in order to play sports. I don't have the specifics as to the particular examination, but we can get that information to you.
And on another note, he's playing basketball. Any colleges look at him yet? Or who was he spotlight of anyone?
Well, I think he was number one, the number one scorer last year. looking at him. But I don't have knowledge of who those colleges are at this time.
If any, we saw some students who were obviously visibly upset yesterday, it's very understandable. Any students feel like they need to miss school today or even a few days next week, what accommodations will be given to them?
Okay, so we have grief counselors that are is our CARES team, and they are set up at a particular place in the school. I was there this morning when the principal gave directions as to where those people were set, and that the students could come down and speak to the to those counselors. Now, and then a part of our procedure is we know that some people will willingly come, right? And then some are not able to come for one reason or another. So I was explained to that at some point during the day, or several times during the day, those counselors walk the hallways. They walk in and out of the classrooms to see if there are people who are visibly upset, that they can just say, you know, let's step outside and talk, and try to take them to a more isolated place to talk with them as well. Because like I said, we've noticed that when you offer for people to come and talk to a counselor, there are those who willingly do so. But there are other people who don't feel as comfortable. So we have to go out and meet them, and that's for the faculty and staff as well.
Would any of the absences be forgiven if they feel like they just need to stay home a couple days? Would that be waived for them?
We have policies and procedures for that, and we take them on a case-by-case situation. But right now, it's all about support. It's all about being there for the children. We'll take the rules and regulations, just put that on the side for a second, and not that we intend to break any rules or regulations, right? But our number one goal right now is to be there as emotional support or any other type of support that would be needed for these children and the faculty and staff.
And have you heard anything about possible funeral arrangements at this point?
We have not heard anything yet, but we will, once we get the information, we will, as much as we're allowed to, we will give that information out so that anyone who wanted to support in those ways, they could do so as well.
How do you expect the school in Jefferson County to continue to honor Caleb for the remaining of the year?
I think it's you know, I'm thinking there will be a couple of memorials that we do in honor of that. We don't have anything planned yet, but I think it's what we do on an everyday basis. You know, how I expect the faculty and staff to honor them is by being what we expect every day, for them to be loving, supportive, to provide guidance for our children, and academic achievement is always at the forefront of that. And then for our students, again, whether you are a student athlete or whether you are just a child attending school for the academic purposes alone, or whether you're in the band, we just want you to be just like this young man modeled, a person who's lovable on and off the court, a person who's committed on and off the court. So we expect to do that with our behavior throughout the school year, and we expect that from others as well.
Any final questions?
Yes, can you just hang out there, let's get a shot of your ribbon?
Yes.